Preparing. Okay, it looks like we're live. Hello, I'm Jeff. This is New World Chaos. I'm here with Neil and Rich, and we're here to talk about cryptocurrency. Um, Neil, I guess I will let you take it from here.
Thank you, Jeff. Nice to see you both. Yeah, this is our second episode on the topic, and I think we were thinking about continuing from where we left off before. And there was a question had been left in the comments last time, and I thought it'd be nice to answer it here, which was about mining. So last time we spoke a little bit about what is mining in crypto. And we used Bitcoin as an example. So very briefly, mining is a process of expending computing power and electricity in order to solve cryptographic puzzles, the purpose of which is to validate transactions and build new blocks on a blockchain. And you get rewarded for doing so with new, in the case of Bitcoin, you get new Bitcoin. So mining, as an analogy for actually like digging things out of the ground, is putting in effort or work in order to receive reward, and is known as proof of work as a process. And Kat's question was really, is this something that you can do as an individual? Can you become a crypto miner as an individual with your, say, home PC or a setup like that? For Bitcoin, I would say that's pretty much a no now. It's mainly quite large computer networks that do this. You can set up a home mining system on a computer and then join a mining pool, but quite a few of those have got a poor reputation, and I would be quite cautious about going that route. But there are plenty of other cryptocurrencies which use the same system, proof of work. So they are also systems where you validate transactions and build blocks on the blockchain using your home computer to solve cryptographic puzzles, and you get reward in that particular currency. So Filecoin is one. Ethereum is still mined, although that's supposed to be ending near the end of the year. So I'd say, yes, you can set yourself up as a miner. You can use graphics cards, you can use ASICs cards. There's a crypto called Virus, I think it's VERUS, and their aim is to try to make it possible to use any form of home computer to do mining. So proof of work is still very much a system cryptocurrencies use, and many of them function at a level which makes it suitable for home mining. You just have to kind of do your research as to which ones you might be interested in. And maybe you want to mine a coin but don't want to keep the coin, but you can always just sell it on an exchange or swap it for something that you want to keep anyway. So the answer is yes, but not so much for Bitcoin, and you'd need to shop around to see what computer setup is best suited for what particular currency and what the rewards are like. But it's definitely possible. A far simpler way and to earn cryptocurrency without buying it is proof of stake. This is also kind of lauded as being much lower energy use as well. And so I'm going to very quickly describe proof of stake, and then I will open it up to Rich and Jeff. So proof of stake. So the purpose is similar. The purpose is to validate a transaction and then create a new block so that those transactions become part of a blockchain. But instead of using your computing power to solve a puzzle, what you need to do is have skin in the game. By what I mean, you may start off by purchasing some cryptocurrency. So we'll talk about Cardano, because you can do this with Cardano. You can do it with Zilliqa and VET, and a lot of different systems use proof of stake. So you'd say buy some Cardano, then you would basically, you would know you lock it into a pool or onto into a computer node. So you can no longer then trade that. You're basically handing over your cryptocurrency to the network to say, right, I'm prepared to validate transactions, and I'm prepared to take a risk by putting my money where my mouth is. The purpose of that is to stop corrupt acting. So for example, if I said, yeah, I'll validate transactions, and then I'd sneakily put my own transactions in and pay myself, or try to trick the system, right? Someone else is going to spot that during the validation process and say, you're trying to cheat. And I might think, so what? Maybe I'll get away with it, maybe I won't. But if I have to put a stake in, like you are when you're playing poker, you've got to put some money in the game. And that stake can be taken away from me if I'm caught cheating. That seriously reduces the likelihood that I'm even going to attempt that. So the way a proof of stake system works is a bit like saying, right, I'll be willing to participate in validating your transactions. I'm going to put, say, $100 or £100 down on the table. If I cheat, you keep my £100. And then I'd say, so what are the rewards for validating transactions? Well, the rewards will always be lower than my stake. So there's still, if the rewards were £150, I'd still cheat. You take my £100 and I'd take the £150 reward. Well, here I've still won, right? So the rewards are always going to be less than your stake in order to prevent you making a bad actor decision or being corrupt or stealing. But in terms of energy use as a network, it's extremely low energy use. So it's, where a lot of cryptocurrencies talk about themselves being green in their energy, it's because they run a proof of stake system. The other thing that's really good about that is you don't need any special equipment to do this. You could set up a node where you stake yourself, but what I do is I use other people run sort of staking pools, and I just I delegate my different cryptocurrencies to their pool. Staking occurs, I get rewards. Some are every day, some are every 5 days, and my cryptocurrency just builds up like a passive income. And whenever I want to withdraw it, I just withdraw it. It's a really simple system. It costs me nothing. It's technically very easy to do. And you get to be part of the network and part of the validation process. So that's a bit about proof of stake.
Does that create a hierarchy where the people that put more in have greater say, or does none of that matter? Like you put in your stake and then you get your rewards as an individual, and it's not in relation to what everyone else is putting in.
That's a really good question. So when these things first started, it did seem possible that if you staked a large enough amount, you could kind of capture the network, so to speak, and gain all the rewards. So a lot of systems randomize how they select the validator. And then the rewards for that validation process are dependent on the stake. So maybe the amount of reward you get is always a percentage of the stake, and that makes it even for everybody. But the opportunity to capture the network by staking enough, about staking a high enough amount, so that those opportunities are being taken away through randomization is one process. Another process, like Cardano does, is they line up all of the different staking pools in the line, and they just go through them in order. So that way, as long as your staking pool is online when it's your turn, you'll get rewarded. The amount of rewards you'll get will depend on how much you've got staked, but it will be the same percentage as anybody else. Let's just say it's 1% for the sake of argument. Everyone always gets a 1% reward. If you stake 1,000, you'll get 10. If you stake 10,000, you'll get 100. So increasing your stake increases your reward, but not the percentage you'd get. And increasing your stake doesn't give you more opportunity than anybody else. So that makes that system more and more fair. The other thing that's really interesting about it, or I really like about it, is that it increases decentralization, because setting up a staking pool is much simpler. It's much less costly. You don't need special equipment for most systems. People can pool their resources together, which is really good. And then you get a lot more people staking. And when you get a lot more people staking, that again kind of evens out the wealth distribution as well. So yeah, it used to be something you could head towards capture, but not anymore.
I think something really helpful to talk about would be how to choose which staking pool that you used. because
Okay,
there's a lot of kind of like YouTubers out there that kind of got their own staking pools and stuff, and they do that whole kind of join my staking pool, etc., and all that kind of big noise. That's something that's kind of stumped me, is that who to choose, why to choose it, what are the numbers behind that. I don't know how you would go about it yourself, Neil.
Okay, well, there's a starting point, I guess, is which currency. So maybe my first choice would be which cryptocurrency do I want to buy in order that I can stake it and start earning rewards. And you can sort of search. There's a couple of websites which provide clear statistics on how big rewards are. So like Zilliqua, I think the rewards are around like 13% per annum. Cardano is probably around about 5% per annum. So you can see that, and those will be relatively stable over time. So you'd be able to select. You might start by selecting the currency which gives you high rewards if that's what your goal is, or if you just really like a project and you're investing in the project because you believe in it, then it doesn't, that becomes less relevant. So let's say we choose Zilliqua because I'm in love with Zilliqua. It's a great project. That's the one I want to stake in. So my next thing is, how do I select a pool? Because there's all these different pools out there. So there's a couple of good websites which I would use. So the first thing I would do is ignore anyone on YouTube saying stake in my pool. Right? That's like or on Twitter or any other social media. It doesn't mean that they're not genuine or valid, or that they're not a good option. But how would you select between a bunch of different people all shouting, choose me, choose me? And what's the motivation for any of them to be absolutely 100% honest when you're in that type of competitive space? So I would go to like a rating site or a third party to start looking at. So the basic things you look at are, what's the cost of entering the pool, if any? And what you would hope to see is pretty much the same cost to entering any pool. So when I say cost, it might be that between everybody in the pool, you might have to pay $100 per month to the network. And if there's like 1,000 of you in the pool, it's not going to cost you really anything at all. Or it might be 1% of all the rewards from staking go back to the network or back to the pool owner. So you'd see fees in terms of either a fixed fee or a percentage fee. So I would compare fees and look to see which ones seem like average, reasonable. If some are particularly high, then I mark that as maybe a concern. Why are they so high? And if they're really, really low, I'd also look at that as a concern. So I tend to aim for somewhere in the middle of an average band. Then the next thing you will look at, so that's your cost of entry, is how regular are the rewards. And if you were just to choose Zilliqua as an example, you'd expect all pools to be rewarding on the same time frame. If that's once a day or once a week or once a month. Anyone that's different from the majority, I would then flag as, why would that be any different? Because it should actually be driven by the network. So frequency of rewards, and then reward percentages. What's really good about proper staking pools is that the rewards are on the blockchain, and therefore anyone can go and check. And there will be tables which just show this pool received this amount of awards on this date, this date, this date, this date. And you'll be able to see genuinely, transparent information that's typically blockchain can't be changed. It's not, you can't cheat with it. So it's nice, clear, in lots of integrity. And so you can just look at a pool and see whether its rewards are regular, whether they're an average size, something you'd expect as a percentage of your investment, for example. And then I would select, so let's see, we've got cost, we've got reward date, we've got reward size. Okay, so the fourth thing that's important is making sure that pool isn't close to its maximum amount of investment in it. So every pool has a limit. Let's just choose a number for this conversation. Let's say the limit is $1 million. Okay, So your maximum amount of money you can have in a pool is $1 million. If the pool's got $990,000 already invested in it, I would leave it alone. If the pool's got a very low amount of money in it, I would also leave that alone too. The reason being is you'll probably pick up a higher percentage of the fees for running it. So what I look for is something between the sort of like 40 and 80% mark. So I tend to aim for the middle on pretty much all of these types of statistics. Middle of the cost, average reward times, average reward amounts, and a pool that's not too full up. And that's how I tend to select. After that, sometimes I just pick by the one with the coolest name, to be honest, because most of these things are actually running almost identical systems. One thing I've found in crypto is that a lot of the people involved are very genuine about why they're involved and their belief in the projects. So they are communities. These are more like communities of people than I've seen in most of the internet or social media space. So the Cardano community is a great community where almost every single pool seems to be running completely fairly, giving pretty much the same amount of rewards. And you might be motivated by, like I say, by the name of the pool, or the person that's sort of talking about it might have a particular bent. So for example, one of the pools I invest in Cardano is run by women in crypto. And I just thought it was really great that people were sort of trying to push themselves forward into this space. They have a really nice website. You can see the owners, they're all very contactable people. That was very reassuring for me. That was because that was the first pool I'd ever invested in. I was scared that I was going to put my money into something and lose it, right? Like as a newbie, you got to go through these frightening sort of anxiety-filling processes. So I realized I could contact the owners and that they were very transparent about who they were and how you could see them. I followed one of them on Twitter and realized that they were in contact with other people within the Cardano community that I trusted, like Charles Hoskinson. Had validated one of these people, said, yeah, great person, met them at a summit, really cool. I thought, okay, that's reassuring for me. So you can use that type of process too. You can check out who the owners are. You can find their social media presence. You can see if other people talk well about them, and you could use that as a personal kind of reassurance. But primarily cost, reward rate, reward timing, how full up is the pool, how much money is already in there, try and keep in a nice average space. Then after that, if you wanted to do a little bit of research around the owners or what their ethos is or why they're involved, you may find something that resonates. Maybe it's a pool for musicians, that people are a passion for thrash metal and stake in Zilliqua. And you go, yeah, exactly, right? So whatever floats your boat. That's what's quite interesting about the space as well. It's not narrow. I don't think it's quite open. Does that help, Rich?
It does, yeah. And I'm really glad that some things you said are things that I've already kind of like mulled over in my mind. Is like, go for the average, cut it right down the middle. Don't go for the ones that seem, oh man, that's amazing. No, back down. You've got to ask those questions. Why is that so high? Why is that so low? Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
So I understand, like, there's things
most.
Oh, we seem to have a freeze on Neil.
That's what I'm getting to.
Oh no, he's back.
Okay, he's back.
Okay, I'm here.
Froze for a second. So what I understand, there's things like the market's doing something right now, or what's the current state of Bitcoin or crypto?
Yeah, there's several things going on, I think, that are pretty important for the market in general. So we talk about value in the market. We seem to be having another huge growth spurt, or at the beginning of a bull run, as it would be described. If you were to look at average returns per month for Bitcoin over the past 10 years, September has always been a bad month, and this September was a bit of a bad month. October, November, December, on average, are very good months, up to 40% growth per month. And October seems to have started off that way. So the crypto space at the moment is very bullish, with lots of people going, yeah, we're going to make loads of money, everything's going to go to the moon. You hear this phrase a lot, to the moon. And there's a good chance that it will. It does look like a very exciting time. I would expect to see new all-time highs set for many crypto. Bitcoin probably first, as it tends to lead the market. There's no guarantee that will happen, but it does seem to be in play. And there's been quite a lot of analysis over market prices about, when is this likely to end? Because again, if you look at historical data, monthly returns, you may see like a more negative situation for like February times, generally not so great. February, March, not so great. But if you look at the overall market and data for the overall market value, this could keep going until as late as July. Not easy to predict these things because it's a new market area, and you only got up to like 8-12 years of historical data to look at. It's not like the price of gold where you can look at it for a very long time. For most stock exchanges, they've got a lot of history. But yeah, at the moment, it's very exciting. Prices are rising high. There's a lot of interest there, but then there's also lots of news that's probably worth mentioning or talking about as well.
Like China.
So yeah, China's probably the primary one that people sort of.
Your connection's breaking up a little bit. You're freezing, and I think we lost a few phrases here and there. And you're frozen.
Okay, how am I with you now? I'm making sure there's nothing else on in my house to.
You're still frozen. The audio's coming in okay, but it breaks up every now and then for a few words at a time.
Okay, I'll sit still, and that way if the audio comes through but the image freezes, you might not notice. But please do let me know. From my end, everything's running smooth, so please let me know if it freezes up.
Okay.
All right, so China, this will probably be a good one. China. So every 4 years, China bans cryptocurrency, and did so this year too. And their latest ban has been that institutions are not allowed to trade in cryptocurrencies, and I think they extended that to individual people. The result has been that the price of crypto has gone up, and it's a very interesting response. I think it's largely an acceptance that if China doesn't want to be in the crypto market, it doesn't matter. Like, crypto doesn't need China. It's a global, international. It's not run by any state, any nation at all. It's all privately held. It's a private system. And having a big country, cause fear, uncertainty, and doubt by making big claims and shouting, banning this and banning that, quite frankly, good riddance. You're not needed in the space. The rest of the world will do just fine without China playing games with the news. So it's probably going to help with stability. And whenever a nation that takes a strong negative position and releases news, it does have an impact. But increasingly, cryptocurrency is showing itself to be very resilient or even anti-fragile. So every time bad news comes out, there's a bit of a shock, and then it comes back stronger. And that is because it's inherently private, and no country has any real control over what happens with crypto. At the same time that China's kind of withdrawn itself. And part of that is because Chinese billionaires were using cryptocurrency to move their capital out of China, which the Chinese government doesn't like. and China wants to have its own digital central currency, which already has been tested in Shanghai and Beijing, and because it can be centrally controlled. And an authority like China that likes to centrally control everything is not going to be wanting to play with a decentralized, privately owned monetary system that leaves them with no way to pull the strings. So it makes sense that authoritarian nations would want to move away from crypto. At the same time, we've seen El Salvador add Bitcoin to its national currency alongside US dollar. And over a 6-week period, I think more people now have a Bitcoin wallet than a bank account in El Salvador. So that adoption rate is very, very fast. When you start looking at transactions per person, like Vietnam, India, and Pakistan are still the leading countries in the world for people using crypto on a daily basis to make purchases from very, very small things through to large things. So there's whole parts of the world you don't really hear about in the news where cryptocurrency is already just kind of melded into the private economy. Adoption in the US, I think, is hit just over 16% now, up. It's almost doubled since February, I think. And I was just reading just before we started, 19% of people in the UK have bought cryptocurrency at some point. That's 1 in 5. And that's much higher than I expected. I don't think 1 in 5 still hold it, probably bought and then sold, but it does look like adoption towards normal, an adoption level where it's just accepted the way mobile phones are accepted and the internet's accepted, is looking increasingly like it will arrive within 2 to 5 years. So I'd say within 5 years for certain, it will be normal for people to have a wallet on their phone, which allows them to use cryptocurrency to shop anywhere. Probably still be shopping in your local currency, like in pounds or in dollars or wherever you live. But you might be spending, let's just say, Bitcoin in the shop and using the pound as a pricing mechanism. So I would expect to see that within about 5 years. I saw a guy the other day was just on Twitter just saying, does anyone know a shop in the UK where I can buy PC parts using cryptocurrency only? And about 5 different people tweeted, yeah, this shop. And I was so shocked. I thought this would be an interesting one. He'll never get a reply. He got like 5 replies in a minute. And then 10 minutes later, he'd posted a picture of all the things he'd bought using cryptocurrency to build a new computer. So it's already here. It's just not in the mainstream vision. Even so for someone like me that's interested in it, I don't realize just how adopted it already is. So that's all really good news. That and the Fed have said they're not going to ban crypto in the US. That's been a really positive thing. There's the first electronically traded fund for companies that own Bitcoin has just been accepted in the US. So you'll now be able to buy an ETF, which includes MicroStrategy and Tesla and other companies whose reserve is in Bitcoin. So that's starting to happen now. Bank of America and another bank are getting licensed to be able to, I think it's Bank of America. It was one of the big 5 banks in the US are now getting licensed to be crypto custodians. So these are all huge moves for national sort of institution levels to say cryptocurrency is going to be part of the mainstream. So I think it's a good time, and it's very, very positive for the future.
If you can get past the hoops to get in, which is still my problem. I've yet to buy my first crypto because the verification process, they picture ID, birth certificate, and bank account information, and then I still don't get approved. So Rich, you had success getting in on some of the exchanges.
That's a fantastic segue you just did there, Jeff, into the topic that we discussed that we were going to talk about. So here we go. Because I think since the last podcast, I don't think on the last one, Neil, you re-listened to it. I don't think I bought any then. Back then, no. So yeah, I've got to admit, the actual first time kind of going through the the process is kind of daunting, almost like you said about staking your first crypto. It's like, oh my God, what am I doing? Why am I giving these people my passport? What am I doing here? And again, you're probably not going to like this response. I had to do a lot of research into which kind of organization or kind of like marketplace I wanted to use and what it did for me. Obviously, for me personally, I wanted it to be able to accept pounds, like straight out for a bank transfer or something like that. I wanted to have the actual crypto coins that I wanted to buy for a start. So for me at the beginning, it was ADA. And that kind of led me down the path towards, what was it, Kraken, which seemed to do everything I wanted it to do. And I went through the process, kind of name, address, and then kind of like the KY. I nearly said something about KY jelly then. I will not. Too late. Whoops.
This is live. There's no editing.
So the KYC process, went through that, and I'd already tried it on Coinbase, and that was like, I think it was 2 weeks, and I still hadn't heard anything back from them. And I did it with Kraken, and it happened within like 10 minutes. The turnaround was just like, boom, done. So, oh, okay. So I sent a message through to Coinbase. I think it was Coinbase that did this too. It might have been Binance. I don't know. Somebody I put a message through, and like I Googled in, or braved rather, how do I close my XXX account? Because whether or not they're going to keep my ID and stuff on record anyway, but I'd feel better personally if it was closed. Anyway, so I got onto Kraken, bought my first, transferred over some fiat, and bought my first crypto, and it was super easy. Switched it over to a wallet, which I think we're going to talk about in a bit. And since then, I've just been kind of looking around, looking at other altcoins and other kind of exchanges that do what I want as well, but with more of a choice of different altcoins. So yeah, I've got to admit the actual process is a bit of a nice word for it. It's a pain in the butt,
You need the
really,
KY
but
jelly.
exactly, yeah. But once you've done it, you've done it. So
Maybe I'll try Kraken at some point. I'm still trying to recharge for my last attempt with, was it Swan Coin or that
Swan
one?
Bitcoin, I think it
Yeah.
was. Yeah.
No more. Never again. Sorry,
So
Swan.
yeah, the know your customer process. So kind of one of the questions is, why do they do it at all? Like, what is it? Why do they do it? So know your customer is something that comes from the banking industry. It's part of the anti-money laundering processes. And what they're looking for is for people to provide nationally recognized identification as part of the sign-up process. And I think that's similar to opening a bank account. To be honest, it's been so long since I've opened a bank account that I can't remember. But I have a vague recollection they wanted to see my passport and that I was signed onto the electoral roll so that I was a voter in my country. And then probably like a bill from a previous address or from my current address or something like that. Anyway, so it's the same sort of process. The idea is to try to weed out terrorists and money launderers, but I don't think it probably does that very well, as that seems to be happening regardless, and way before crypto as well. So yeah, so most of these exchanges, so an exchange is a place where you swap basically dollars or pounds or fiat currencies into cryptocurrencies and back again. Or you swap one cryptocurrency for another one. So it's a trading platform which allows you to turn your fiat currency into cryptocurrency and then hopefully back again into your bank account. And they all seem to have this rather long-winded process of name, address, photograph the front of your passport, photograph the back of your passport, photograph yourself holding your passport next to your face. Do that with a piece of paper with today's date and this particular code written on it. There's all sorts of different ones. Yes, right. It's that type of thing. Yeah, so that was the most difficult part, is always trying to hold your passport, a piece of paper with the code that they've just emailed or sent you to your phone, and doing a selfie without looking like a fool. I've done that like 3 times now, and I've hated it every single time. But I've managed to sign up to 5 or 6 different exchanges, and I'm just basically signing up to all major exchanges to see what the process is like. And what I would like to do at some point is produce like a video or something that just talks you through every single exchange and what that process is like. But essentially, at the moment, KYC is a standard. It is a pain in the neck. Once you've done it once, it does get a lot easier. The last one I did was crypto.com, which I thought was really quite easy. I think it took me like 10 minutes. And then I was loading some pounds on there, and then I was buying crypto, and I did the whole thing in like under an hour, and I was really quite impressed. Actually, I thought it was a really good system. But I've done
I did that
Coinbase
yesterday morning.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
great. Yeah.
Oh, crypto.com.
The thing that got me about crypto.com is the name. It's just too, I don't know, it's just too, I don't even know what the word is, but I hope you could understand what I mean. Crypto.com. It's just like, really?
Generic.
That's the name? Okay. But it seems, it is legit.
Very legit. They sponsor Formula One racing. Like they've sponsored some major sporting events. They've got 8 different Visa cards, which at different levels. You get their rewards on some of their Visa cards are as high as like 12%. Sort of on the sort of cashback level and stuff like that. So they're a major player, and they've got their own currency, which as you buy that, increases the rewards you can get on their cards, and that's becoming quite a major currency as well. But in terms of the other thing about using crypto.com is pretty much every step requires what's called 2-factor authentication, or 2FA. And what that basically is you have a separate app, and I use one called Authy, AUTHY. And so let's say I want to spend some money. So I say, I've loaded some pounds, and I want to buy this cryptocurrency. And the first thing it says to me is, right, we need to check it's you. So go to your Authy account, and there'll be a 6-digit number, and you've got 60 seconds to use that 6-digit number before it changes. And so you put in that 6-digit number, and it says, yep, I can verify it's you. You can now buy your crypto. And then say, right, I want to move that into my wallet. And it says exactly the same thing again. Go and get a 6-digit code. It's got 60 seconds before it refreshes. And at first I was like, oh my God, I have to keep doing this every time. And then I realized, you know what? No one else is going to be able to cheat this. There's no way someone else, unless someone else has got my phone with my Authy account on it, then there's no way that anyone else is going to be able to hack this, move my money around, steal from me. So it actually is a really high level of security. So at the moment, pain in the neck is balanced by very secure. And that includes the know your customer. The purpose of it is to provide you with security of your identification. But I think going into the future, we will see a new balance. I think user interface, how easy is it for your average citizen to use, will increase, and there may be a little bit of a trade-off against security, but it won't be much, because security is really important when it comes to your money. But there are already organizations like Unstoppable Domains is one, where they're trying to make it much more user-friendly, much more familiar to how we would do things. So that you can, Unstoppable Domains, you can buy like a name, like you could say like Jeff Primal Hex, and that would then be attached to your wallets, to all of your different cryptos. You could use that in different accounts. And if I wanted to pay you, I could just pay Jeff at Primal Hex, and that no matter what cryptocurrency I sent, the system would work out which wallet to put it in. It would store it for you. Otherwise, you have to keep giving me like these 26-string, incredibly complex names or QR codes that I need to scan, and that's all a pain in the neck. But there are ways that this is being overcome to make it simpler. And I expect to see exchanges become a lot easier to register with and then to use without too much of a drop-off in security. And the timing as well, like Rich was saying, it took almost 2 weeks with Coinbase. If it was Coinbase and he didn't get a response, I suspect it was Coinbase. And customer service of a lot of these places is terrible. They really have no customer service at all. And I saw a really interesting talk about this. And they're saying, well, a lot of these are like tech startup companies. They look at scalability. So let's build a bot that does our customer service ever so poorly, or have an email service which takes 4 weeks to get a response from. But let's just get as many customers as we can. So that's probably part of where we're at. But already people like Kraken or crypto.com and others are coming into the space with a better service offering. And as this gets bigger and bigger and more people use it, those with the better service offering are going to start to dominate the market. And the response to that will be to compete on service offering. So I think at the moment, it's quite technical. Customer service is quite limited or poor. And it can be a bit of a pain in the neck. But what we will see over the next 12 to 24 months are increased usability, better interface, better customer service, simpler interaction. And that's an inevitable part of the industry going mainstream. So it's a bit of a, it's a bit shit right now, to be frank, but it will get there. But 5 years ago, if you wanted to like do a transaction on the Bitcoin network, you had to download the node and install the Bitcoin network on your computer to do anything. So the fact that now we have like digital wallets and digital exchanges, and that's already a vast leap forward. I don't see that momentum slowing down. I see it speeding up, to be honest.
Speaking of wallets, we were going to talk a little bit about some new wallets that Rich discovered, we're working with.
One of the things, backstory a little bit, one of the things I've been kind of wrestling with is finding kind of like, not a universal wallet, but a wallet that takes a lot of different types of crypto. So I've got I know it's a swear word in crypto land, but a centralized place where I can keep all my kind of crypto in one place. Gemini is one where it's configured for lots of different crypto, but the kind of fees on that, and that's one thing I think we should talk about as well, is on marketplaces is fees. But we'll come back to that if we've got time. That Gemini was one, but then there's incredible fees for that, and it's like, no. A lot of the one crypto wallet I'm using, which is Yoroi, and that's specifically for ADA. And as kind of new tech's coming out, I'm noticing like Neil, you said about because I've been looking into Nervos, and they've got their own wallet, and then within that wallet you can stake within the actual wallet itself, which is really cool. You can with Yoroi and again for ADA, Daedalus, which although Daedalus you've got to download the node, and that's all a bit janky, and yeah, let's not go into that. So I kind of joined in with the Cardano Summit last weekend before, when did you move, Neil?
2 weeks ago, yeah. I moved 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. Which was really cool. That the summit was kind of virtual. They did have live things all around the world, but it was virtual as well. So you had your little avatar, and you can wander around this world. And they had the TV screens showing the kind of the summit and like the people talking and demonstrating what they're doing. So it was really kind of cool. And they had this like kind of mini sub game where you could wander around and find these different kind of hidden items. And then in a couple of weeks, they're going to release some NFTs to the lucky winners who found these hidden items, which is really cool. Anyway, so one of the things on there, which they've just released on their YouTube, I think it was, I can't remember who did it. It was IOHK, which is the kind of mother company of Cardano, I'd call them. But they unleashed their kind of idea of what the future wallets are going to be. And it's kind of, the way I describe it is an all-encompassing wallet where you've got somewhere to keep your multiple different coins and kind of altcoins, whatever. You can access exchanges through the wallet, kind of swapping sites and things like that. You could do things cross-chain as well, so you can go from like Cardano to Ethereum to whatever. What was the other things on there? There's an integrated kind of know your customer kind of service that I need to go back and listen to find out what it was all about. And there was something else as well, staking as well, which technically is already available, but that'll be new with more information on the stakeholders. So again, when we were talking earlier about researching the actual stakeholders, that information will already be on there. There was one other thing as well, and I can't remember what it was. Oh, somewhere to view NFTs if you bought them. Basically, these new wallets will kind of be all encompassing and just kind of multifunctional. You've just got one and it links to everything else, which, as Neil, you're talking about just now, about as the technology advances, it's going to get a lot more usable and customer friendly, which I'm looking forward to. Because at the moment, trying to find the right kind of wallets and things, it's a bit of a pain in the ass. It's fun, but it's a pain in the butt.
Yeah, I've got, I'm thinking I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've got 3 wallets that are on my laptop. So these are downloadable system wallets. So they sit on my laptop, they have a password, and basically what a wallet does is it takes your private keys off the exchange and puts them onto your computer. So that means you now have complete custody of your crypto. So if I buy something on an exchange and I leave my crypto on the exchange, that's kind of like leaving my money in their safety deposit box where they have the key to the safety deposit box. It's my money in name, but in terms of custody, you know, you think about child custody, who's got the kids? Well, in the case of crypto custody, who's got my crypto? Like, they've got it in their hands and it's just in my name. And if they decide to basically, you know, close shop or disappear, then they can take my money with them. And that's a risk. So a wallet is basically like saying, well, now I've got the key to the safety deposit box. And that key is literally an encryption key that's kept on your computer or kept in the wallet. So the purpose of the wallet is to give you complete custody of your crypto. And then if the exchange closes or goes out of business, you're fine. You've got everything you need. Even if the exchange was to like shut down for an hour for technical reasons and you wanted to do something with your money in that hour, you wouldn't be able to. But if it's in your wallet, you can. So that the wallet is really about taking custody. So I've got about 3 wallets on my laptop. Most of those have staking functions in them, but they're a little bit more expensive to run. I have several wallets which are actually web wallets. One's called MetaMask, which you can do pretty much anything in. They give you access. The web wallets give you access to more services, like places to swap currencies, but they have a slightly higher risk to them, which is obviously that they're on the internet and there's a higher, they're basically stored on someone else's server. So there's always that sort of slightly higher risk of something going wrong. And I also have like a hardware wallet, which is like a little USB stick, which I can plug in to my laptop, and then it does everything offline. And the private keys are kept on the USB. And as long as I've got that USB, then I've got my money in my hand, basically. So those kind of the function of wallets and the different types. Their real purpose is to give you custody of money. But as Rich was saying, you know, finding the right wallet which holds the currencies you want, you might end up having to have 2 or 3 different wallets because they have their own limits to what they hold. So the future of wallets is going to be connect to any exchange, hold, excuse me, hold all currency types, work on all networks, have access to apps where you can swap your currencies to different ones, have access to staking pools, have validation of stakers, have information to help you make choices. So you start to think of this like almost like an online bank that's your bank, like the bank of Jeff with Jeff's stuff in and only what Jeff wants to use and only what Jeff wants to see. And then the whole know your customer thing, right? We've mentioned that every time you join an exchange, you go through a know your customer process. You don't do that with a wallet, by the way. With a wallet, you simply just download it and install it, and it's done. You don't have to give any ID whatsoever. So that's quite nice. So what these new wallet proposals include are, well, what if you install your wallet and you do a KYC with your wallet this one time, so the wallet knows your identity. Then every time you have to join a new exchange or you want to use a new app, if that app says I need KYC, the wallet says already done that, here you go, connect straight away. So that would be a really great service where you'd only do your KYC once. Then you have like a crypto digital ID, which then allows you to connect to any service that requires identification without you ever having to do anything again. So we can really see a huge shift in how the industry will work as we move forward. So that one I think is called Project One. And as soon as I saw that video today, I was like really excited. I was like, oh my God, that'd just be so much easier than I've got 6 exchanges, all of which I've had to share my passport with and take stupid selfies. I've got like half a dozen wallets. And admittedly, the little USB wallet is my long-term sort of retirement storage place. So I always will keep one of those, but I've got these online wallets as well. Imagine it all in one place with a really nice user interface. So it feels like a website that's personalized to you, that's got your digital ID built into it, and you can do everything from there. That's really cool. That's a really great way to go forward. So yeah, it's coming a long way. It's come a long way in the past 5 years. In 5 years into the future, I don't think you'd recognize compared to where we are now. It'll just be so much better and so much easier. And then, me paying you, Jeff, for a service that you provided, or buying, an item from you, or whatever, or sending you a birthday gift or whatever, all of that type of stuff, we're just going to be one click on a button. Click Jeff's name, click what I want to do, done, instant transfer done. It just does away with the entire need for banking systems and exchanges and trying to turn pounds into dollars or anything like that. All of that stuff just disappears, and you'll be 24/7 control of all your money, and be able to invest it, make more, do what you want.
Wow.
I'm just talking myself into being very excited about this right now.
I don't even have crypto. And I also like the potential for network. Like when you talked about just being able to buy or send money or to people with click of a button, that has the potential to create stronger networks or to be used for network purposes as well.
Definitely. I mean, communities are already these decentralized autonomous organizations, or DAOs. And I love the fact that it's DAO because it reminds me of Chinese philosophy, Taoism,
and Pooh.
And Pooh Bear.
Yeah,
DAO of Pooh. The way, the path. So these decentralized autonomous organizations are already building communities around something they're interested in, and then sharing the cost and rewards of their effort using these types of systems. So you're right, networks and communities grow out of this functionality, so that the technology enables people to work collectively in terms of financial reward as well, which is really interesting because we can work together, sure, on a project right away, but financially, actually building, say, business or monetization out of that is a bit more difficult. And this facilitates that and makes that a lot more easily. So now communities are also able to create their own community currency and reward each other for their contributions to their development of whatever it is they do. And that's a really, really, really great idea. Then that can then be turned into a business function, and people outside of it can participate. And
wow, we should do that.
I think we should too. I think there are other people we know that you've mentioned before this, who are interested in what communities we can develop and for what purposes. And I think, we should go for it.
Do y'all want to talk about fees for a little bit? We have about 5 minutes, and we might have time for a question or two. So if any of our 2 viewers in the comments want to put a question. Also, we're going to be hanging out soon on a Zoom. So you're all invited to join us to hang out with us after this is over as well. And Neil can answer questions.
Yeah. Fees. Yeah. What was your experience with fees, Rich? Was this using exchanges?
Well, this is me experimenting. So what I did was collected some of the Brave Attention token, which is the token that's available through the Brave browser just from viewing adverts. So what I thought, I'd collect some of that and use it as an experiment and try it on different exchanges to mess around. It's not all I've done is spent a little bit of time looking at an advert here and there, and I've accumulated a very small amount of this token. Now I found that putting it onto some exchanges and then trying to do other things with it is incredibly expensive in gas fees. And so it's now stuck. I've got X amount, a very small amount, I will say this is a very small amount of BAT on MetaMask. I've got a very small amount stuck on KuCoin that I can't get off because of the amount of fees it takes to move it or to swap it for something else. So for me, for an experiment, it was very fruitful because I learned never to do that again. But I did it twice, so I'm a slow learner. But then again, fees didn't really come into it that much. Yes, it was, but it was negligible when I bought my first amount of ADA from Kraken and moved it over to my Yoroi wallet. Yes, there was a fee, but it wasn't that debilitating at all. I looked at it and was like, okay, fee. I think it's very much, and we've talked about this before, I don't know whether it's been on the podcast or not, but the Ethereum gas fees are just, ooh, okay, won't be using that. But yeah, so that was my experience of it, and that did kind of sour me a little bit, but it was a learning experience at the end of the day.
So there's several fees that you might incur during going from having nothing to do with crypto right through to swapping currencies. I can do this in 3 minutes. So the first fee you might incur is a fee to put your fiat currency onto an exchange. You might incur. Some exchanges incur a very small fee, like 0.5% or 1%. Most do it for free. So that's fee number one. Then you buy a cryptocurrency, and there may be a very small transaction fee, like 0.1% of your purchase, or it may be free. Anything over like 1%, I would just not bother with, to be honest. And that's exchanging fiat currency for cryptocurrency. So now let's say you own a cryptocurrency, and the next thing you want to do is move it somewhere. You might want to move it to a wallet, or you may wish to swap it for another currency, which is basically using the networks. And then so you pick up what's called a network fee. Now, the network fee has nothing to do with the exchange or the wallet in particular. It's to do with the network that token is built on. So all tokens are associated to a network. A major network is Ethereum. Cardano is a separate network. Polkadot is a separate network. They all have their own network fees. Ethereum, they call their fees gas fees. And they are variable. They vary depending upon the complexity of the transaction, not the size in terms of how much money you're moving, but how complex is it? If you're just moving one thing from one place to another or swapping something, it's quite low complexity. If you're running a really complex smart contract which figures out house prices and weather conditions, then the gas fees can be extremely high. That's because the system is still proof of work. And so in order to process the transaction, you need computer power and electricity. On a proof of stake system like Cardano, I think that the network fee is almost always 1 ADA or less than 1 ADA. Zilliqa has incredibly low fees, and Tron network has incredibly low fees. So what I think you were doing, because BAT, that token for Brave, is it's an Ethereum token. It's an ERC20. So moving that or swapping that means you have to use the Ethereum network. And at the moment, the Ethereum network is so expensive to use that it kind of is no good for individuals almost. It's almost only good for businesses at the moment. That's why a lot of people are moving their apps onto Cardano, onto Polkadot, onto Zilliqa, onto Solana or Tron or other networks where the fees are extremely low. So yeah, you met Ethereum gas fees and they sting. I've done this before where the cost of the fee was more than the transaction. Like it cost me $20 to move $10. Well, obviously, I'm not going to do that. That's just ridiculous. So sometimes you'll find on an exchange that you have a choice of networks and you may be able to use a different network from Ethereum to move Ethereum tokens. And that's becoming increasingly common, that different networks are building what they call an Ethereum virtual machine or an EVM, which means you'll be able to move your Ethereum tokens around, but not using the Ethereum network and therefore not pick up the gas fees. And so, yeah, really good lesson to learn, and it sucks. But it's really a bug of Ethereum rather than a feature of cryptocurrency. So yeah, bye Ethereum, and welcome all low-cost networks.
Well, Neil, thank you once again. You've been a very valuable, informative resource. I'm going to end the live stream, but we'll keep the Zoom going. And if anyone wants the link to come hang out with us and talk crypto or whatever else comes up, just let me know. And we'll do another one at some point. So we'll see you then.
How can people let you know, Jeff, in the next, say, 10 minutes, 15 minutes?
I'm going to post it on Discord. I'm going to post it on Facebook, and if you're on Twitter or on YouTube, I'm going to attempt right now to put it in the YouTube chat room. Sometimes it doesn't let links go through, but let's see what happens. And then anyone else can email us at jeffandnemo@gmail.com. That's our New World Chaos address for now.
Lovely.
So, okay, well, once again, great seeing everyone, and we'll see you at the next one.